Welcome to the Run Your Day podcast, where our goal is to expand your focus and perspective on life. This is your daily dose of motivation, mindfulness, and so much more. And now, here to help you take your day back, your host, Dan Hafner.
All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome in to another episode of the Run Your Day podcast. As always, Dan Hafner here, joining you. It is Thursday morning. A couple more shows for the week today. Have a great show for you today, like an awesome parable to share. This is going to be a good one. Paradigms matter is the topic of today's show. And before I get started, I wanted to share a little bit of a parable from my life yesterday. And excuse me. There were two instances that happened to me yesterday that have really, really changed my paradigm and how I see things and how I actually act now. Like it literally in one day has changed the way I look at things. Now, before I do that, what is a paradigm? For anyone who don't know, the definition I have for it here, paradigm, a typical example or pattern of something or a model. Right? So a paradigm is how you see the world, your lens through how you actually view a situation or basically the entire frame of something, right? Your paradigm is completely different than mine, and mine's completely different from someone else's. Our paradigm controls the frame that we see and how we interpret things. It's an absolute game changer when you change a paradigm. So yesterday I actually had a call with one of my mentors, and he kind of just opened up this new world to me that I had no idea that I was doing stuff wrong inside of my career. Completely is changing the way that I'm approaching, what I do, how to actually jump out there and catch attention and do things differently, and just absolutely changed my mindset with my approach, right? I realized I've been going about some things completely wrong. And he used a couple different examples and metaphors and analogies and different types of things to make me really realize oh, wow, shit, I've been doing this all wrong, right? And then later on in the night, my wife and I actually got into a conversation about some stuff, and the things that she said to me completely shifted my paradigm as I view our marriage. It just absolutely opened up these things of wow, I had no idea this was on her mind, or I had no idea she operated like this. And I was telling myself these stories that she thought this way or she did things this way, and it was completely wrong. Completely wrong. And I was like, shit, again. What am I doing? I need to absolutely 180 this stuff, right? In both business and in my marriage. It's a game changer, right? So I want to tie this into the Escape book here, and really wanted to go through a couple different quotes here that I came upon in this book. And he actually has a chapter, I should say, on paradigms and how his paradigm actually changed in his life and how it drastically changed the direction of his life, the success of his business, the success of him as a person, and just everything. So I'm going to read from page 83 here in the Escape book. Without even knowing it, we adopt the thinking systems of everyone around us and ingrain them deep inside us. The question is, do we pick up the good patterns or the bad patterns? Of course, we pick up a combination of both the good and the bad patterns. So that leaves us with a suite of paradigms that need changing later in our lives, which leads to the main questions. How do we change our paradigms after they've been placed in our subconscious mind? I read that and I was like, oh my God, that's crazy true, right? We all learn things as a kid or in different situations while we're in school, and just kind of go on in life to actually do things that way and never stop to question, is what I'm doing actually working? Is this actually something that's fulfilling? Is it something that I should tweak? We get so caught up in our habits and patterns that we don't even think about it, and this is really powerful, because what I want to get to here at the end of this is how he went about changing his paradigms. They're so hard to change once you've got into like a pattern and you get stuck in that rut, right? And it's not something you can do overnight. Like right on here on page 87, it took me weeks to fully realize just how much my paradigms had impacted my entire life. However, I didn't have more weeks to change them, right? Like he was in a very, very dire situation where he was, multi-million dollars in debt, changed around, like doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff. And maybe you're not in that situation, but maybe you're in a situation where you realize like your paradigms need to shift quickly. Like you can't afford to go on much longer at a certain pace doing the same stuff you're doing. It's just not going to be sustainable, or it's just not going to get you results, right? So I have multiple questions for you today, and I'm just literally going to take these from his book. Like I can't come up with better questions than this. So, reading here from page 88, I'm constantly re-emphasizing my adjusted paradigm, and it has served me tremendously well. I've kept a strong relationship with money that never has me relying on it. And a lot of his paradigms had to do with money. And I believe a lot of my paradigms have to do with money as well. Maybe yours do. What are your paradigms in life? What do you believe about yourself? What do you believe about success? What do you believe about being in your chosen career field? What do you believe you are actually worthy of having? And what do you believe you are capable of? Those are questions directly from his book on page 89. These are some deep questions, right? Like, welcome to 2019, man. Welcome to 2019. What are you capable of? What are you worthy of having and obtaining in 2019? Maybe you're going down a path that, in a relationship that you don't really know if it's worth continuing, or you really are starting to question why you're with this person. It's worth it to take a step back and think, is this actually serving me anymore? Am I capable of more? Am I worthy of more? Especially when it comes to people, it's tough, right? Like it's tough. You never want to think that you're above someone or worthy of someone better. But give yourself some credit. Maybe you are. Maybe you are. But you have to believe that about yourself first. I highly, highly encourage you to think about these questions. And especially of those questions that I listed, this one. What do you truly believe about yourself? Like this, getting to the core of this question will change your freaking life forever. What do you believe about yourself? I have questioned myself so much over the past probably 8 months. And I have found things to be true about myself that I never, ever would have thought were true. But it doesn't just happen. You have to search. You have to meditate on this stuff. You have to take the time to figure this out. It doesn't just come to you. You have to dedicate time to search, and you have to dig. You got to dig deep and find your paradigm. Find your paradigm and question it. Question if it's actually working any longer. Question if it's serving you. And if it's not, don't be afraid. Like I've been there. I've been in situations where I've found a paradigm that just doesn't work for me anymore in the past. And it takes a long time to change. It does. You have to work through a bunch of different stuff, and there's a lot of fear and doubt and insecurity tied with that. But on the other side of that lies something that you didn't even know was possible. I promise you. So that's going to wrap up today's show. And that's my question for you today. What do you believe about yourself? What do you believe about yourself? Take some time today and think about that. Journal it. Document it somewhere. Post it on our Facebook page. Whatever you got to do. Think about what you believe about yourself and how that's different from what you just believed about yourself a month ago, a year ago. And that's going to wrap up today's show. As always, thank you all for joining. Dan Hafner here of the Run Your Day podcast. Hope you guys are getting increased value out of this show in 2019 because it's only going to get better and spicier from here. Thank you all for joining. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you for listening to the Run Your Day podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's show. If you did, feel free to share today's show with friends and family. Until next time, have a great day.